A component smaller than your fingernail now determines which nation leads the world. Not oil. Not gold. Not nuclear warheads. A semiconductor chip, circuits etched in nanometers, thinner than a strand of human DNA, has become the single most contested resource on the planet. Governments are rewriting trade law. Militaries are restructuring doctrine. Intelligence agencies are running covert operations. All because of who controls this object. The fight isn't coming. It's already here. In 1957, 8 engineers walked out of Shockley Semiconductor in Mountain View, California. They founded Fairchild Semiconductor and ignited the transformation of farmland into Silicon Valley. A decade later, 2 of them, Robert Noyce and Gordon Moore, left to create Intel. Moore had already published his defining observation in 1965: transistor density on chips would double approximately every 2 years. Moore's law didn't just describe progress. It became the competitive target that shaped the entire global semiconductor industry for 50 years. For decades, the United States dominated chip design and manufacturing. Then came complacency. Through the 1980s and 1990s, American chipmakers began outsourcing manufacturing to cut costs. The logic was seductive: design in America, build somewhere cheaper. What nobody calculated was how that manufacturing knowledge, once transferred, becomes a sovereign weapon in someone else's hands. Taiwan saw the opportunity with precision. In 1987, Morris Chang, a Texas Instruments veteran, founded Taiwan's semiconductor manufacturing company with backing from the Taiwanese government. TSMC's model was radical: manufacture chips for other companies without designing its own. A pure-play foundry. Critics called it a niche idea. What it actually was the architecture of future dominance. By concentrating manufacturing expertise in serving every chip designer on Earth without competing with them, TSMC accumulated capabilities that became essentially irreplaceable. Today, TSMC produces roughly 90% of the world's most advanced semiconductors. That single statistic rewrote the geopolitical map of the Pacific. The most critical tool enabling this dominance is the Extreme Ultraviolet Lithography Machine (EUV), produced by one company on Earth, ASML, in Veldhoven, the Netherlands. These machines use light at 13.5 nanometers to etch transistors with near-incomprehensible precision. Each contains over 100,000 components. Each costs roughly 150 million euros. ASML ships fewer than 60 per year. No EUV machine means number 5 nanometer chip. Number 5 nanometer chip means no cutting-edge AI processor, no advanced radar, no 5th generation wireless hardware. This machine is not a product. It is a choke point. China recognized its dependency later than it should have, but the response was massive. In 2015, Beijing published Made in China 2025, explicitly targeting semiconductors. The government deployed hundreds of billions of yuan through the National Integrated Circuit Industry Investment Fund, the Big Fund, established in 2014. Beijing wasn't subsidizing an industry. It was engineering a geopolitical escape from dependency. The company at the center of this ambition, Semiconductor Manufacturing International Corporation (SMIC), founded in Shanghai in 2000. SMIC grew rapidly on government support. But it consistently struggled to match TSMC's leading-edge processes. While TSMC mastered 5 nanometer and 3 nanometer production, SMIC remained constrained near 14 nanometer commercially. The gap represented years of accumulated knowledge and institutional expertise that money alone cannot instantly replicate. Washington understood this leverage and moved. In 2018, Huawei, China's telecommunications giant, was placed on the US Entity List. In May 2020, rules tightened dramatically. Any chip manufactured anywhere using American equipment, software, or design tools required a US export license before reaching Huawei. Washington had weaponized the invisible architecture of global chip supply chains. The consequences were immediate. Huawei's smartphone shipments collapsed from 240 million units in 2020 to around 30 million in 2021. What happened to Huawei was simultaneously a demonstration of American power and a warning to every Chinese technology company about the cost of dependency. October 2022 delivered the most sweeping semiconductor export controls in American history. The Biden administration restricted the sale of advanced chips and chipmaking equipment to China broadly, blocking AI accelerators above specific performance thresholds and, most controversially, prohibiting American citizens from working for advanced Chinese chip firms without a license. NVIDIA's A100 and H100 data center chips were blocked from Chinese customers. Beijing called it technological warfare. The Netherlands proved critical. ASML's EUV machines had already been blocked from export to China since 2019. In early 2023, the Dutch government extended restrictions to cover certain older DUV systems as well. Japan simultaneously restricted exports of 23 categories of semiconductor manufacturing equipment. A trilateral chokehold, the United States, the Netherlands, and Japan had formed around the physical tools of chip fabrication. China did not respond passively. In July 2023, Beijing announced export controls on gallium and germanium materials critical to radar, satellite communications, and military electronics. China produces roughly 80% of the world's gallium and 60% of its germanium. The message was deliberate: supply chains run in multiple directions. Taiwan sits at the center of all of this with a weight its 23 million inhabitants carry quietly. TSMC's most advanced fabs, producing 3nm chips, are concentrated in Hsinchu and Tainan. A military conflict over Taiwan would not only be a humanitarian catastrophe. It would simultaneously sever the production of chips that power global computing, communications, and weapons systems. Former Taiwanese officials described this as the Silicon Shield, Taiwan's indispensability as a deterrent against Chinese military action. Critics argue the logic cuts both ways. The same indispensability that protects Taiwan also makes seizing it strategically attractive. The semiconductor chip has become what oil was to the 20th century, with one critical difference. Oil exists in many places. The knowledge, infrastructure, and expertise required to manufacture the world's most advanced chips exist in precisely 3 locations: Taiwan, South Korea, and the Netherlands. That concentration is now the fault line of great power competition in the 21st century. Who controls the chip controls the future. The question is whether anyone controls what happens next. If this episode changed the way you see the world, hit like right now. Every like helps us keep uncovering the geopolitical stories that shape our future, the ones that powerful governments and institutions would rather keep buried. Subscribe to Iron Century and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode. The next story goes even deeper. The world is being redrawn right now, and you need to understand how. The century of iron has only just begun. The geography of technological power has never been more compressed. Taiwan's TSMC alone accounts for more than 90% of the world's most advanced logic chips, those manufactured at 5nm or below. A single facility in Hsinchu produces components that flow through virtually every advanced weapons system, financial network, and artificial intelligence platform on the planet. The insurance value of that single campus exceeds the gross domestic product of most nations. South Korea's position is equally precarious and equally decisive. Samsung and SK Hynix together control roughly 70% of global DRAM memory production. Without that memory, data centers stop functioning, mobile networks collapse, and the cloud computing infrastructure supporting modern governance simply ceases to exist. Seoul understands this leverage, which is precisely why Washington, Beijing, and Brussels have each dispatched senior delegations to Korean soil in the past 18 months alone. The Netherlands adds a third dimension that is frequently underestimated. ASML, headquartered in Eindhoven, manufactures the only extreme ultraviolet lithography machines capable of printing the most advanced chip architectures. There are fewer than 200 of these machines operating worldwide. Each one contains approximately 100,000 individual components sourced from suppliers across 24 countries. Disrupting that supply chain does not require military force. It requires pressure on a relatively small number of procurement relationships. What emerges from this landscape is a paradox that no security doctrine has yet resolved. The countries most dependent on these chips are not necessarily the countries with the power to protect them. And the countries with the greatest interest in controlling chip production lack the institutional and scientific infrastructure to replicate it independently within any politically relevant timeframe. The question that remains open is not whether a disruption will occur. The question is which disruption arrives first, and whether the international system retains enough coherence to respond at all.